36-year-old Mario J. Perkins will spend 20 years behind bars for his part in a Rockford shooting from June 2022. In June of 2022, Rockford police responded to a report of a shooting in the 1600 block of Chestnut Street. When they arrived, officers say they found multiple shell casings in the street and determined 2 houses were shot. Perkins was sentenced to 20 years in the Illinois Department of Corrections for aggravated discharge of a firearm and unlawful possession of a firearm by a repeat felony offender. He pled guilty to both charges in June of 2025, and he must serve a minimum of 85% of the sentence with 3 years of mandatory supervised release.